explore birds of the eastern woodlands landscape, and particularly some of the more common birds in what we call the passeriform grouping. Passeriforms basically means perching birds. And those are basically all your common songbirds. So we're going to go through, I think, about 12 birds right now, 2 mammal sounds, and then we're going to do a quiz at the end of it. So I'm going to start off with doing just some review of some common bird sounds right here. So the first one we'll listen to is the American robin. And the site I'm using for this one is birdlanguage.com. The other site that we're using is called allaboutbirds.org. So birdlanguage.com and allaboutbirds.org are the resources we're using for today. And I'll just start by sharing one quick tip here. I highly recommend, if you just try to kind of rogue memorize these, it's really tough to get them to actually stick. A lot of the birds are fairly similar to each other. So what I find really works is to come up with memory tricks to help you remember. So for example, when a bird is making a call, in your head, kind of come up with a saying, like something that you think the bird is actually saying. And to be honest, like the more ridiculous you make the saying, probably the better it's actually going to stick in your brain. And then if you can make an association between what it's saying and the actual name of the bird, even better, or some sort of little trick there to help you memorize it. So there's a little tip for you. Okay, the first bird we're going to look at here, super common one that you see every day. It's the American robin. And the trick that I use for the American robin is I feel like it's saying, here I am, where are you? And the way that I remember that that's the robin is this idea that, hey, we've seen robins our entire lives, yet a lot of people actually still don't know what the robin call sounds like, even though they're in front of them and singing all the time, because we just haven't patterned on nature. Thus the robin's like, hey, I'm right here in front of you. Where are you? Where have you been my whole life? You know, I'm right here. Don't you notice me? So here I am, where are you? See if you can notice it. Here I am, where are you? Where are you? Here I am. So listen to that one more time. So there's the call of the American robin there. I'm going to play one other sound from a robin. This is actually its more aggressive alarm call. It often uses this if, let's say, there's a dog running by or a predator on the landscape or even a person coming down the trail for that matter. And even though the call is very different, see if you can just pick up on the idea that this is the same bird making that call. So that's the robin's alarm call, and then this is the song call. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. The next one we'll do is the song sparrow, and I love this bird's call. It's one of my favorites. Actually, we're going to do 2 sparrows, and I love both of these. A common thing amongst a few of the different sparrows is that they start with 2 or 3 distinct notes that are the same kind of pitch, the same kind of volume in a row, and then they go and do like what we call a little warbler, where the call just kind of goes up all over the place without any real pattern to it. So see if you can hear that here. Listen for kind of 2 distinct notes and then just kind of a random bunch of notes following it. See how it went beep, 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 dee, 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 dee. Beep, beep, dee, 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 dee. That's what I mean by like these 2 distinct notes to start it off. And again, there was that kind of ramble there at the end, but both times it starts with those 2 distinct notes. So let's listen to the song sparrow one more time. So that's our song sparrow. And then the next one we're actually going to listen to is the white-throated sparrow. And I love hearing this one kind of in the northern woodlands. So one mnemonic I've heard people say for this one is it's saying, oh, sweet Canada, 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 Canada. Oh, sweet Canada, 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 Canada. So see if you can hear that. You don't have to use the word Canada, but some sort of, oh, sweet, oh, dee, dee-da-doo, dee-da-doo, dee-da-doo. That's kind of the pattern. So come up with something that works for you for memorizing. This is the white-throated sparrow. we'll just do those two again. So let's go back to the song Sparrow with those couple distinct call notes. And then we'll go to the white-throated sparrow again. So there's 3 birds. We've done the robin, the song sparrow, and the white-throated sparrow. Let's do a couple other fairly common ones. The next one we'll look at is, let's see. We'll do the red-winged blackbird, and they have a really distinctive call. To me, it sounds like they're going conqueree, conqueree, and sometimes they go see you. So see if you can hear this. Conqueree. There, that's our red-winged blackbird. So that's number 4. The next one we'll do is the northern cardinal, number 5. And the northern cardinal, to me, I always remember this bird because the bird is bright red. So I think of it like a red laser beam. And the sound kind of sounds a little bit like a laser being shot out of like some crazy gun. Like imagine playing laser tag, and you're shooting this laser gun. It's like, choo, choo, choo. So see if you can hear like the laser-like sound in the bird that looks like a laser. That's my memory trick. So I'll play that again, and then I'm also going to pull up a different variation of the cardinal, because the other one might be one that's even a little bit more common than this one. But let's listen to that one more time. And now I'm going to play a different variation right here. So that's our northern cardinal. The next one we'll do is, let's see, the American goldfinch. The goldfinch, those tiny little birds, they're beautiful yellow. They got the little black patch on their head. And the way that I remember the goldfinch is it sounds like a potato chip, or it's saying the word potato chip. And I think of the goldfinch being this tiny little bird that's small like a potato chip, and potato chips are often yellow. So I think about like the little flying yellow potato chip saying potato chip, chip. So see if you can hear that. Potato chip, chip. So interesting, the potato chip call, that's not actually the song of the goldfinch. It's actually what we call a contact call or a companion call. And the birds will sing it back and forth to each other as they fly through the air to kind of keep track of each other. And when they're on the ground as well, to kind of just know where each other are. So this time when you listen to that same call, notice that there's actually 2 birds singing here. And you can actually hear a louder one in the forefront and then a secondary one responding in the background. See if you can hear both of them doing the potato chip call back and forth now. Now, this is the song of the goldfinch here. The goldfinch song is, don't worry about memorizing the pattern, but what I hope you can notice is the same bird, like that, the pitch of that potato chip, even though the actual, the cadence of it or the rhythm of it is different, the actual pitch is the same. So you'll notice that it's the same bird just making a different sounding call. Or a different pattern call, I should say. So even though that's a different call, can you hear how that's the same bird? Like, listen here. Right? Now listen to the song. same pitch. Versus if I'd played this one, right? That's a white-throated sparrow. It's probably not being made by the potato chip bird. So I hope that kind of helps you there in hearing that. Okay, next we'll do the black-capped chickadee. Of course, they've got their classic Chickadee call. And then another call that they make, which is the one that I think it sounds like they're saying cheeseburger. And I think of this tiny little bird that's freezing cold in the middle of the winter time, and it just wants a cheeseburger to get some fat to warm up. Cheeseburger. So that's our chickadee. From there, we'll go into our blue jay call. Now, the blue jay call, they may actually make quite a wide range of different calls. They've got quite the vocal cord array that they work with. I always think, though, they make a lot of ruckus. They often travel in big flocks, and they make a ton of noise. The calls are all over the place. So the way that I sometimes remember the blue jay is I think about it like it's a blue jay game. And there's a crowd of people, and they're just making a ton of ruckus at a blue jay game. So see if you can use, or see if that works for you. So there's the ruckus of the blue jay game. Okay, and we'll do a few more here, and then we're going to do our quiz. So the next one we're going to do is the red-breasted nuthatch. They often fly around with the flocks of the chickadees, and there's two common ones. There's a red-breasted and a white-breasted nuthatch. Their calls are fairly similar. The way I remember this, I think about the nasally nuthatch. So it just sounds like a really nasally single-note call to me. So can you tell what I mean? That it's just kind of like nasally, like it's almost like it has a little bit of a cold, and it's just doing this single note over and over again, repeated. As opposed to some of these other birds, or basically all the other ones we've listened to that have kind of had a fair bit of variation. The nuthatch is just one single note, one pitch, repeated over and over. If you're interested just for comparison, I'll play the white-breasted nuthatch as well. Just being slow. So see, it's still just one single note repeated. The white-breasted, and it's still kind of nasally nuthatch. It's just doing it faster. So that's our nasally nuthatch there. Now the one you might mix the nuthatch up with is the woodpecker family, because the woodpeckers make a very similar sound. So I'm going to do the pileated woodpecker. Now the pileated woodpecker is the real large one, the ones that make those big oval holes. And I often think about the pileated woodpecker being like, how would you say it? Oh yeah, so like remember the TV show Woody Woodpecker? The pileated is basically based on him, this big large woodpecker, the big red mohawk. And in the comic, in the TV show, he did this ha 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 call. So think about that ha 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 that Woody the Woodpecker did, and now listen to the pileated do something similar-ish. Now, can you see how that's a little bit similar to the nuthatch we listened to a minute ago? I'll play the nuthatch again. So they are quite similar. That's our white-breasted nuthatch. Now let's listen to the pileated. So for both these birds, you kind of have a single note just repeated over and over. Now the way I differentiate them though is the nuthatch one sounds nasalier to me, a little bit more bass to it, whereas the pileated is really high-pitched, not as nasally. Oh, come on here. So much higher and a little bit more variation in the actual call itself. Okay, two more birds and then we'll do our two mammals. So the first bird is the mourning dove, and they have a gorgeous call. And when we're thinking about doves, there's kind of two main species you're going to get in the eastern woodlands. There's the rock dove, which is often called a pigeon, and there's the mourning dove. The rock dove is what we often associate with urban landscapes and, like, you know, being downtown in the city and the birds that are down on the pavement. Mourning doves tend to be more on the edges and in the woodlands, but mourning doves have this beautiful kind of coo sound to them. And then the last bird on our list is the European starling. So this is what you kind of consider a non-native or an invasive bird species. They're often found in huge flocks. They're actually a really beautiful looking bird. They have this like iridescent purple and blue and green and white and black. They have these little white spots all over them. And the way that I kind of remember the starling, so you'll notice it's kind of a random high call that's all over the place, but it's almost like there's this little finger that's just like tapping in the background. Kind of something like that. It's like this real, like, kind of low guttural background kind of tap going on. And I think about the spots all over their back and picture somebody just hitting them with their finger and it making that little tap, that low tap. So see if you can hear that in here. You hear that? That really fast rapid fire kind of in the background with the high-pitched squeak next to it. So there's our European starling. And let's finish off. We'll do two mammals now. We're going to compare the red squirrel and the gray squirrel, and they're quite distinctive. Red squirrel is very high pitched and will often do like a bunch of alarms and then like kind of hit this one note and just do this incessant chatter. So let's listen to that one. That's the part I was telling you about at the end, that like intense trill. So that's a red squirrel, and now our gray squirrel. Gray squirrel to me just sounds like something's dying. It's quite harsh. A harsh nasally call. And then I'll do the red squirrel one more time. And back to our gray squirrel. And when I say gray squirrel, that includes the black squirrel. They're the same species. So just different color coat, but same species, same call. Okay, so get out a notebook or just open up a page on your computer and you're going to write down 1 to 14 right now, and we're going to go through a quiz to see how well you remember these. And fortunately, you can just go back if you don't do super great and just watch the video again and keep practicing as we go through. So get ready. Number 1. Do you got your paper ready? Just give me 1 second here to pull it up. Our first species. Oh, sorry, it's loading slow. Here we go. Okay, this is number 1 on your quiz. Single note, bassy and nasally. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2 is going to be this pretty call right here. Okay, that was number 2. Number 3. So higher pitch kind of trill there. Number 4. Hasn't started yet. There we go. Okay, that was number 4. Number 5, we're going to go to, let's see. Let's grab this one right here. Potato chip. And then this is the song from that same bird. And then back to its call note. So that was number 5. Number 6 is this pretty call here, one of my favorites in the eastern woodlands. And number 7, we're going to go with okay, that was number 7, and here's number 8. Okay, getting close to the end here. Number 9, a very common bird. So that was number 9 there. We'll move on to number 10. Number 11. Hopefully that gives it away right there. Number 12. Okay, number 13 coming up in just a moment. And our last one, number 14. Okay, so there's our quiz. Let's go through the answers, see how you did. And really, when you're learning these, remember, practice using those memory tricks. And just, even if you're just learning one or two each time you do this, you're going to have to go through this multiple times before they really start to stick. And then really, you need to go through it on the computer, and then you need to go out into nature and do it again. And when you start actually hearing the calls and saying, oh, that's the one from class, I don't quite remember what it is. And then you pull out your binoculars or you go searching and walking around the neighborhood trying to find it. And then you actually see it and you're like, oh, right, that was the starling. And that's how these actually start to stick over time. So a mixture of repetition, memory tricks, and then actually going out into the field and practicing. That's how this comes together. And birding by ear becomes like a super fun thing, you know, when you're out through nature or even just walking through the city streets. It's just really neat to hear all these sounds and actually know who's making them. So let's take up our quiz. So number 1 was our red-breasted nuthatch. I'm not going to play the calls again because you can go back right now and rewatch this, or you can go listen to them on your own at birdlanguage.com and allaboutbirds.org. So number 1 was our nuthatch. Number 2 was our northern cardinal. Number 3 was the pileated woodpecker. Number 4 was the mourning dove. Number 5 was the goldfinch. Number 6 was the white-throated sparrow. Number 7, the red-winged blackbird. Number 8, the song sparrow. Number 9, the robin. Number 10, the blue jay. Number 11, the red squirrel. Number 12, the gray squirrel. Number 13, the chickadee. And number 14, the starling. So they're some of the most common birds in the eastern woodlands for songbirds. If you can get through that list, you've gone a long ways in your bird skills this year, and learning new ones beyond that should be much easier for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Keep practicing. I suggest you watch this video multiple times. Okay, take care, everybody.